Everybody having a good time, right? You guys do this again, right? Well, like we talked earlier today out there at area BFE, a bead-lock, if you don't know what a bead-lock is, it is a mechanical device that bolts the bead of the tire to the wheel so the bead can't slide off the short side of the wheel. When you look at a wheel, it has a big bell on one side and a little shelf on the other side. The big bell side is supposed to go back over the brakes for clearance. The little shelf is to the outside and has a valley next to it, so when they mount it conventionally, they can get a 15-inch tire over a 16-inch round wheel. You drop it in the valley. But that's the weak link for us when we lower the air pressure because you only have an 1.5-inch shelf for that tire to rest on. So we install a bead-lock there. Our bead-locks are 32 bolts. And that actually bolts that tire to that wheel on that's on the weak side of the wheel so that you can run lower air pressure. Now, a lot of times I get the question, are bead-locks DOT approved? They are not. Now, when you say a DOT bead-lock wheel, they do make such things, but they are internal bead-locks. What the law states is that for a wheel to operate on a publicly funded road, must conform to rim, shell, shape configurations, which we change with the bead-lock. So that's the deal. It's not that they're illegal, it's not that they're unsafe. It's just that that law was established in 1937. I think there's some kind of controls over Henry Ford. So it's an old law. A lot of the DOT laws are so old that none of us have any relatives that even were around then. So that's a couple of the questions I get asked from others. Now, another question I get asked is, do I need a bead-lock? Most of you, I would say no. Bead-locks are maintenance, just like any other performance part that you put on your car. Now, we try to design it where you don't have to worry about it too much, but there's always a problem of breaking a bolt or the bolts loosening. There's all those factors that go. A lot of people don't realize with aluminum wheels, with aluminum out of rings, that if you go out into the rocks and you gnarl that aluminum ring, and the OD of the ring gets all these little rough edges because they're hacked into the rocks, and the tire starts laying over those edges, it's eventually going to wear a hole in the sidewall. So if you're running bead-locks that have aluminum rings, make sure you maintain the OD edge of those rings. Now, Raceline, we designed a steel ring that has a rolled edge on it that really makes it, it's almost like a lock worship. We don't have bolts to loosen up on them. They're not necessarily for high speed, but for the average guy, the steel ring is by far the best because it has a 5-degree taper on it, the same taper as the bead of the tire. So it lines it up nice and straight and keeps the bead of the tire under control at low air pressures. So that's a couple of things going over. Hey, Mr. Williams, give it up for us. Now this is a guy that races, builds, whatever, helps spots. He's done it all for you guys. He was out there today to help a lot of people. We had a great crew out there today, so fill us in a little bit out of this BFG page.
Will do. Thanks, Greg. First, on behalf of BFGoodrich, I want to thank all you guys for coming out tonight. We really appreciate you guys being here. We like to think of BFGoodrich as a family. We're family-oriented. We're all here together. We're here to go off-roading and enjoy our love of the outdoors and enjoy this beautiful land we have down here in Moab. And of course, we'd like you guys to be able to enjoy this land on our BFGoodrich tires. We talked a little bit last year at this event, if you were here, about the KO2 that was just released the fall before. But the KO2 is the most advanced all-terrain tire that's hit the pavement or hit the rocks that's available today. It's packed with a ton of features, and I think that a lot of you guys, we're out today, we're able to see all these nice built Jeeps all run on KO2s. A lot of people think you have to have a mud terrain tire to work down here, and the KO2 actually works very, very well. So to talk a little bit about the KO2 and some of the advancements that went into building that tire is, most everybody knows the KO all-terrain. This year celebrates the 40th year of the all-terrain tire. BFGoodrich Tires invented the radial all-terrain tire. So it's a big deal. We hang a lot of pride on that tire. We want to make sure that it delivers performance everywhere it can, the best that it can. So the engineers set out to design this tire. They spent the last 9 years developing this tire. Some of the technologies in the tire were on some other tires they were releasing, and they wanted to test them and make sure that in the other tire that the performance gains they thought they were going to get did in fact happen. But 9 years were spent developing this tire. So throughout all those years, the BFGoodrich engineers and marketing team was out all across the United States asking people, what do you expect out of your all-terrain tire? And they got 3 common things that people wanted to get out of that tire. Those were, we call them the 3 T's. toughness, traction, and tread wear. I'm going to talk a little bit about toughness first. So 80% of tire failures in the light truck category happen in the sidewall. 60% of those happen in the upper shoulder area. So when you look at the shoulder area on a KO2, it's going to look more like a mud terrain tire. The technology that's in that tire is called Core Guard. Core Guard is the technology that comes from the race tires. When BFGoodrich comes out with a new technology, the first people that get it are the racers. They'll go on the Baja tires, the tires we use at King of the Hammers, the sticky compound tires. They'll get the technology. Once it's proven itself, then it finds its way onto other products. So the Core Guard sidewall is an upper shoulder with 4.5 millimeters of additional rubber in the shoulder area, a serrated shoulder, mud-phobic bars, and the engineers also figured out an advanced logarithm that when you look at the angle the tread blocks on the side are as a tire, if you look at anybody's tire sitting out there that's been off-road, you'll see circular scuffs all over the sidewall. So there's an angle as that tire rolls across an object that they figured out for each tire height and angle those blocks to protect it as it's rolling through an obstacle, through anything that goes obstacle, whether it's rocks, trees, stumps, whatever, that it gives you full protection. The tire is rated at 20% stronger sidewall than the original KO was, which it is actually quite a bit stronger than that. We get traction from two engineering disciplines, which are chemical and mechanical traction. Chemical is the combination of all of the materials that go in to build what the compound or the recipe to make the rubber in the tire. There's countless types of rubber that go in developing that. So that's our chemical traction advantage. And we have mechanical traction, which is our combination of block, side, and void that's in the tire. The tire has an advanced footprint design, which is a more effective and larger, more rectangle-sized contact patch. A lot of contact patches in the past have been more like a round softball. That's the rubber that's on the ground that's doing the work for you. The contact patch on the KO2 is a much larger, more rectangular patch, so you have more rubber on the road working for you. In that contact patch in the KO2, we have over 60% more siping and 60% more biting edges in that contact patch. So you look at the overall effectiveness of a tire and you think, hey, the All-Terrain was a great tire. It came out in 1999 and it's still for sale. So it's 17 years running. It was a great tire. So we have a three-dimensional active sipe, which also gives a lot more stronger, more stable tread block. And it helps the tire drive more true and straight down the road, doesn't let it wander, but also when you're trying to choose your line, you're able to pick that line and stay on that line based off a more stable tread block. But aside from the KO2, BFGoodrich has a ton of tires out there for all of your vehicles. A lot of new tires are coming out every single year, whether it's for your SUV or your car. But if you think for 9 years they developed that new all-terrain, hopefully we've got some good stuff that'll be coming out in the next few years. If you pay attention to the racing division, they just released the KR3, which is a racing tire, but they're constantly changing and developing new technologies that will eventually trickle down the tires that we all get to enjoy here. But again, on behalf of BFGoodrich, we're really grateful that you guys came out here. Hopefully you're enjoying our tires, and we'll see you next year.
I have a question. What's the difference between an all-terrain, like a KO2, and a crawler?
A crawler tire is a purpose-built off-road tire. It does not perform as well in the wet surface stuff. It's made to perform in the rocks. It's got a 4-ply sidewall. It is very heavy duty. So a crawler is, in this terrain, a crawler is perfect, but driving in the snow, driving your daily driver, it's a heavier tire. It's not necessarily made for that. So KO2 is your all-purpose tire. It does phenomenal, better than you'd imagine in the mud, but performs at the top of all terrains and all the categories they test those in your road, ice, snow, pavement, dirt, all of that. So.
For those of you who are familiar with the brand, Spyder is one of the first armor companies to actually build armor for Jeeps. It was more than just a decorative facade for the Jeep. The company was born out of the rock crawling craze that kind of popped up around the 90s and early 2000s and continues today. We have a heritage that reaches into competitive rock crawling, desert racing, and of course recreational off-road. Our patriarch, Larry McRae, who's here today, is a legend in the sport, and I've had the pleasure to be able to mentor under him for the last 7 years. And from what we learned from him, we're moving forward with creating the best armor products for the Jeep. Now, Poison Spyder, we build everything from bumpers, rock sliders, cages, quarter armor, fenders, flares, or everything from the Jeep CJ, right up through the YJ, TJ, and of course the JK. Now, we were on the trail today with a lot of new JK owners, and I saw quite a few blank canvases for our parts, which is great. And any of you that were on the trail with us today, in fact, anybody that's in Moab for Easter Jeep Safari, I want to offer 10% off of anything we make and free shipping. Since we weren't able to bring a truckload of bumpers out here, we'll ship it to you for free from California. So to get that, just call our office or the parts through Poison Spyder and tell them you saw us at Moab Jeep Safari, and they'll apply those promotions. I wish I had the rest of my crew here, but I hear that they are stuck on Pritchett. So I haven't heard the story yet, but I hope you can't blame me on it. But thank you all for coming out. Thanks again to Charlene for putting this together. Thanks Danny for the use of the venue. And our co-sponsors, I want to thank Greg again. Also the MC does a great job. And the folks at BFG.